In a world filled with information clutter, this is the one show where we discuss matter over mutter. Welcome to your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. This is Bisnomics. I'm Tharindu Amarasekera. Negotiations. Now, as a part of day-to-day running of a business, running a team, managing relations with various stakeholders within the organization, we need to negotiate with them because circumstances are different. Viewpoints, perceptions are always different. Now, how we balance all these differences and get what needs to be done? Well, that what would one say the art of negotiation. Now, as a business manager or a decision maker, this is one art that you need to be having an idea about. And here in Bisnomics, that's exactly what we will be focusing on today. And I would like, at this point of this show, to welcome the guest of our program, Tissa Dissanayaka, a specialist in negotiations. Tissa, welcome to Bisnomics. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Tharindu. Thanks for having me.
Tissa, now what exactly is a negotiation? And let me ask you in a very simple sense, why does it matter in our day-to-day work?
Tharindu, if I answer the first question first, negotiation is, according to the Professor William Ury, who is the co-founder of the Harvard Negotiation and Leadership Program, he says negotiation is an act of influence to reach an agreement. It's an act of influence to reach an agreement. That means each time you are interacting with someone and there's a negotiation is happening and you try to influence the person to do something, or at times you are trying to influence the person to not to do something. Whatever the outcome, it's the interaction between people and to get to do something. And it's happening your personal life and it's happening professional life. It's happening everywhere, every time. And you cannot escape from the skill of negotiation.
So basically for me to be able to have the pleasure of the company of a professional like you who is a specialist in this field, for me to get you to be here with me, I have had to negotiate at some point.
You did your fair share and you were successful. That's what I am here.
So though we don't always realize it, whether we know it or whether we say it or not, most of the time we are negotiating.
Absolutely. Not most of the time. The day you are born to this world until the day you are gone from this world. And you are compelled to negotiate. We say it from birth to death. Birth to death you negotiate with, when you are a small child, you are an amazing negotiator. You negotiate to get everything what you want. From your milk, from the toys, from clothes, bicycles, tricycle. Remember that, when you were small?
Yes, it was very easy to get things.
Very easy to get things. Remember, you are an amazing negotiator. Why I say that is, you managed to negotiate to get everything without having a single cent with you. Because you knew what value to trade off from your parents to elders, your grandparents, the people around your life. So by nature, my interpretation of negotiation of a human being is by nature and by birth you are a great negotiator. But unfortunately, only few people rediscover your ability.
Interesting viewpoint.
I am helping individuals, corporate managers, and organization to rediscover that negotiating in them.
Why does, I'm coming back to this question again, why does negotiation skills matter when in our day-to-day work? Let's say a business manager or a business owner who is watching this show. Why does negotiation really matter to them?
Tharindu, especially let's take a senior manager who is running an organization or responsible for department or section, SBU, Business Strategy Business Unit. Most of the time, these senior corporate leaders fail not on their merit, not on their ability, but on the process. The way, because they know what is to be done and they have the skills. What they lack is the negotiation skill to get their point across and get the things done from the other people. This is where they feel. If you improve your negotiation skills, it will help you to be success, to reach an outcome that you desire. whether it's a profit or whether you wanted to say someone to yes or no, whether you want to get more volume, more recognition, more
credit
respect,
time.
more credit time, whatever it is, it's about how you negotiate. There's a catchphrase in negotiation that we say, how you negotiate is more important than what you negotiate for.
Right point.
That means the process is important than the substance. Substance, you know, as a business manager, when you advise your clients, when you are a consultant, you know what they want to achieve. That's a profit, it's the revenue, it's the volume, it's the recognition.
Correct.
But how you achieve that is the question mark. That is where.
Tissa, let me just cross question you here now. I think you are bringing out a very valid perception here, because a lot of the time we say companies don't fail in planning, they fail in the execution.
Execution, absolutely.
And that's because when you are executing, you need to negotiate your way through, isn't it, with the people, with maybe your customers, with your creditors, maybe with the various parties that are loaning out to you. Because I want to quote the words of a CEO of a very famous mobile phone brand, which was a super hit in the 1990s, but then a few years back it kind of went to irrelevance, where the leader of that organization at the point of that kind of, well, it was bought over by another giant, but where he just broke down into tears and he said, we didn't do anything wrong, but we still failed. And they had all the people, but clearly the execution was a problem.
Absolutely, I fully agree on that. This is what we advise. You see, the word negotiation comes. Often, the people associate that with the high-flown, high-level power negotiation between
two countries,
America and Russia.
Yeah.
Even negotiation between Israelis and Palestinians. Negotiation between government and adversary parties. Negotiation between the unions and the employer federation.
Correct. It's seen as a very stressful, very high level, something that is only meant for the top level decision
makers. But have you realized we negotiate more on our personal life than our professional life?
Every time we call home to say we'll get half an hour late today, it's not informing, it's a negotiation. Is that what you are saying?
It's a negotiation. Now, let me ask you this question. What do you think in more difficult negotiation? Is personal life negotiation is difficult or professional life negotiation? In your opinion, Tharindu?
Personal life is a little more
Personal
tough.
life negotiations are more difficult. And we negotiate more on that aspect. But yet, when the word negotiation comes, we associate that with the high-flown, high-ticket, high-price, high-stake negotiation.
Which is a mistake.
Understood. Now, this takes us to a very important point. The point is, let's say negotiations are inevitable in life and unavoidable. If it is unavoidable, my question is, why not learn how to do it better?
Correct.
But if you learn it better, your personal life success goes up before you even reach to the professional level. Your negotiation between your spouse, your parents, your kids, high pressure negotiation between kids, husband, wife, friends. Personal negotiations are much more strongly felt. Do you know why? Because those negotiations are associated with emotions, ethics, values, trust. It doesn't mean professional negotiations are not without those.
For sure.
Professional negotiations are also involved with emotions.
And it's also probably having more multiple facets
facets. But in personal negotiation, it's felt stronger because you associate with the relationship and so on and so forth.
Correct. I want to ask about this further. Now, what you are saying is that negotiations is not something that is only limited to a few separate instances, but it's more of a day-to-day thing. What are some of the fundamental elements of negotiations that we can associate to our lives for the day-to-day work that we do?
Tharindu, the famous example is which channel to change. Although I have the remote controller in my hand, what channel to change in the TV is a
Negotiation.
powerful negotiation. It's not powerful negotiation. Maybe the son wants to change to the action movies. The wife wants perhaps cookery show. Daughter wants perhaps TV teledrama series.
And you want news.
I want news. I want news. So it's a very powerful negotiation from home front. It's the validity of the negotiation skills is immediately felt if you improve it.
Understood. Now, for me as a professional, how important is negotiations, and what do I need to know about negotiation skills if I am to negotiate better with my, let's say, with the rest of the organization?
Tharindu, I advise the people who seek my expertise to focus on 4 areas.
All right.
And this is the 4 area that I used. I developed a model because I was called upon to share my knowledge. So I developed a model.
Excellent.
What
you are creating knowledge.
I created knowledge because thanks to my mentor, one of the great marketers, gurus that I associated with, Professor Udita Liyanage. In my days in MBA classes, legendary marketer.
Sad loss of the country.
Sad loss of the country for industry and for everyone. He said in my classes long time ago, don't ask me when, you will guess my age. He said, associate with all the knowledge around the world, in the world, but you create your own original version. When I try to share negotiation skill knowledge, I found brilliant work has been done by the academics, practitioners, the bit and pieces here and there. Then I wanted to bring it under one model. Then I created a model, negotiation model that it looks like a house.
Nice.
It looks like a house. It's called the Boston Negotiation Group Model, BNG model. That's my brand name associated with that. We advise focus on 4 areas if you want to improve. First area is the fundamental preparation. 70%, let's put it in safe way, more than 50% of your negotiation success is attributed to the preparation part.
Wow.
Tharindu, you have no excuse. You can't say I failed during the negotiation process because you have to find time to prepare yourself well beforehand.
Sounds a little bit like the case for a lawyer because it's not at the court, it's the preparation that really gets him the win.
It's a preparation part. That's, remember, more than 50% of the negotiation success is attributed. That's one part. Then there are 2 pillars. One is the skill, the other one is the tactics. This is where most of the models and the negotiating learning people mix it up. I found the things were all over. So I wanted to put in one place. You need to improve skills, basic skills as a negotiator. You know, in communication, negotiation, and all those decision making, there are dozens of skills. What skills are more important to a negotiator? Through my 25 years of international negotiation career, doing negotiation over 30 countries, I have refined that to 4. Understood. I call it a LEAN, L-E-A-N. It's an acronym.
Nice.
It's not that literal meaning of lean. Leaning is continuous improvement.
These are the 4 skills you need to be good
L
in
mean the listening, deep listening. E mean empathy. A associate with the assertiveness. N mean non-verbal. Body language that you and I know about.
Understood.
So, as a negotiator, if you could improve listening, empathy, assertiveness and non-verbal communication, amongst other negotiation, other skills, you have the edge during the negotiation process. Then one part, you have the preparation, you have the skills. These 2, you need to improve it, prepare it well before you meet your negotiation counterparts.
Before you execute the negotiation.
Before you execute.
Understood.
You have no time to practice when you reach the pitch. You have to practice on the net.
Interesting. Tissa, we are going to come into this into more detail.
Right.
Well, what are the other skills you need in order to be successful in negotiations, and what are the common mistakes to avoid? Let's find out about that and more after this short break. This is Bisnomics. Welcome back to Bisnomics, your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. Our focus today is on negotiation skills and in conversation with Tissa Dissanayaka. Tissa, so we were talking about this house model. We spoke about the importance of preparation to make your negotiation successful, the skills. Now, what more? Share your model with us.
Tharindu, in preparation, there are 4 areas that advise clients to look for. It's called prepare your base. I made an acronym for that, BASC. I mean, it's like a foundation. Prepare your base before you meet your negotiation counterpart. What is this base? B means build. Build your objectives, build your agenda, build your process, and build your team. This is where a lot of negotiations fail, and they have no negotiation objective. If you don't have an objective, don't go for a negotiation. That means if you don't know where you want to go, Tharindu, any road will take you there. You can't start.
And you'll end up nowhere.
You end up in nowhere. So start from the negotiation objective. And then prepare an agenda and the negotiation process. Reason and argument logic. Build into that what each stage that you are trying to do. And the next one is the team. Often we fail because I have been a salesperson throughout my career.
Lots of negotiation.
Lot of negotiation. But I have failed many times because I did not want to get the support of team up with the others. Salespeople are like Clint Eastwood. You know that cowboy character? That Lone Ranger? He is confident of meeting any challenge alone. If the reason is that if I take the support of the other people, if I team up with that Tharindu, when the success arrives at doorstep, I have to share that success with others.
Correct.
Human nature is, many people, including me in my early part of the career, I must confess, we didn't want to share the success.
Success belongs to me. Failure is all of us.
Tharindu, it's not that. I am willing to lose the business. I am willing to give up that client than reaching for help. So I advise, if you have a high ticket, high price, high stake negotiation, team up. I call it a negotiation support team, NSCU, support unit. Team up, prepare a team with the expert, right blend. And that will ensure a lot of success. That is B, build. A is aware, BASC. Aware of culture dynamics, time dynamics, and the group dynamics. I have hundreds of stories to share because I have negotiated in person over 30 countries with professional buyers.
Interesting.
I know each time when I was not sensitive enough for certain culture, certain practices, when I ignore or bypass, what's the shock that I got? Sometimes it could cost your deal. So we need to
any examples of such interesting cultural differences you have experienced?
Now, for instance, let me say, I was in Thailand with a young entrepreneur signing a contract with for import contract with agencyship. So we negotiated over the emails. I went there and we finalized that, and we printed 2 original copies. Then I picked my pen and I was just about to place my signature, and he said, "Tissa, wait, what's the color of your pen?" I said, "Wait, I didn't think about it. This is black. Don't. Use blue pen." I asked, his name is Ning, Nondivat Prabhanandan. He's a good friend of mine who became our agent for a long period of time. I asked, "Ning, why is that?" He said, "In Thailand, important documents are signed with blue ink." Now, don't ask me whether it's a deal maker or breaker. Now, what happens if I sign with the black pen? Nothing will happen. Yeah. But I was not sensitive for their cultural sensitivity, that micro, sensors. I should have, known something like that. And there are dozens of examples that I can quote in different countries that happen due to. Let me put it this way. Sri Lanka is a culture mix.
Melting pot.
The way you negotiate in හතරවෙනි හරස් වීදිය, fourth cross street. It's not the way you negotiate. That's a different 1 day 24-hour business model.
Correct. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it, right? You have 24 hours borrowing morning and delivering with the interest in the evening. But when you go to Matara, it's a different culture. Batiklo, Jaffna, Kurunagala, Gampa, it's a different culture. Even industry to industry, this culture is not the culture we associate with the group of people. Culture in media, you have a different set of words, you have a different culture. IT industry, if you talk to IT guys, they talk in different language. Hospitality industry, whether it's the medical or even hotels, and they have a different culture. So my advice is be sensitive to specific culture. You will get an advantage of it. I'm not saying that you have to adjust it.
Understood. Very, very well understood.
Be mindful of culture nuances.
So that's about the importance of having a support team and also being aware of the cultural sensitivity.
Culture sensitivity. That Tharindu, we covered B, build, A, aware. S means study. Study means...
We are in the base, we are in the preparation.
We are in the preparation stage. Study means, before you meet your negotiating counterpart across the table, you have to understand, go through, search, research what you can do, what you cannot do, your limitation, do's and don'ts, your prices, your terms and conditions, your credit limits. All these you need to be aware. Now you will say, come on, that's basic. And one has to know everything about one's product and services. It's common sense, isn't it? But Tharindu, unfortunately, common sense is not so often common.
It's quite scarce.
It's scarce. You will get surprised. Sometimes your counterpart will have more in-depth knowledge than what you have in your own products.
Wow.
And you can expect a shock if you don't do then that. Build, aware, study on. The better part is E, evaluate. Before you negotiate, evaluate your competition. What is competition? Competition means if someone is trying to meet you, he's trying to sell something. What are the other substitutes? Who are in the same industry? How much of price that they are offering? What you already have. Evaluate all those before you meet that person.
Understood.
Because when you have the in-depth knowledge about whom you are negotiating with and their competitors and their industry, and you have an edge in negotiation.
Because Sun Tzu said those who sweat more in training will bleed less in war.
Bleed less in war.
So
absolutely.
if you put more effort in preparation, you will lose out less in the negotiation.
Now the best part is the last. In that evaluation, you have to make ready for term called BATNA. BATNA, B-A-T-N-A.
Okay.
BATNA is a term coined by Professor William Ury and Roger Fisher way back in 20-30 years ago in their seminal book, Get Into Yes. BATNA. The BATNA, what BATNA says is B stands for best. A, alternate to a negotiated agreement. Best alternative to a negotiated agreement. That means if you cannot agree with your negotiating counterpart on this table right now, what is your next best option away from this table?
Understood.
Critically important, away from this table. What is, now assume I am negotiating with you for something.
It's on a price matter.
In a price matter. And you say, Tissa, this is 5 million, take it or leave it.
Yeah. And you're saying no, 4 million.
No, I asked you 4 million and you said, no, this is 5 million, take it or leave it.
Okay.
Now, 5 million, is it a good price? What shall I say? Should I agree with you? Should I say yes or no? How do I know that? In order to say yes or no, I must have my next best alternative. This is where the preparation comes. I must research all the aspect of this particular item that I am going to buy from you and know what is the similar price or terms elsewhere for similar category. Assume it's the same quality, same color, same performance, everything is the same. what is out there for this item. If I know it is 4.8 and you say 5 million, Tharindu, I have the power to say, Tharindu, Tiaganda, keep it. I am walking away. If the same item is elsewhere available for 5.4, Tharindu, as a buyer, I wanted to buy it as lowest as possible.
Correct.
As a seller, you want to sell it as highest as possible. That's your responsibility. I know similar car, let's say car, is 5.4 elsewhere. But still, knowing I wanted to bring it back. Bring it down. So you should understand that because I am the buyer.
Correct.
When you say, this is not going nowhere, Tissa, I am wasting my time. 5 million, take it or leave it. What's my option? If I know my BATNA is 5.4, I should say yes.
Correct.
If my BATNA is 4.8, I say, Tharindu, keep it. Thank you very much for discussion.
Understood.
Now, look at what happens. My power to say yes or no depends on my knowledge on BATNA, best alternative to a negotiate agreement. Tharindu, it is not haggling. Yes. If you say this is 4.9, no, you gave another option. It is not BATNA.
That means I am not steady.
Not steady. It's not BATNA. BATNA is if I can't agree with you on right now.
Yeah.
What's my next best option away from this table?
Very interesting. Tissa, what are the common mistakes? I mean, you're a trainer, you train people, you meet so many corporate leaders on this topic. What are the common mistakes that you see Sri Lankans making when they are negotiating?
Tharindu, very often it's the preparation part. People take it for granted.
Take it easy.
They believe that they know. I have been in the trade. The
ego.
That ego. I know what, before even the other person comes, that person know what the other person wants. That lack of preparation is one. And reluctance to improve the skills, the other one. The next important point that I often have seen in this context is focusing on the outcome first than on the negotiator. I call it human before harvest. In my model, it's the strategy model is called heart model, HEART. Strategy is heart. Heart is close to your life.
Correct.
So H is human before harvest. Harvest is outcome, your profit, your volume, your credit terms. Saying yes, getting no, whatever the end result. What often people do is they are jumping on the result. Let's assume that we want to share a cake. I am telling you, look here, my effort, my recipe, mage piti, mage bittara, I mean, all this is mine. I am responsible for to bake in the cake.
Yeah.
Tharindu, you can only have 1 kilo. 9 is mine. So often people focus on the result, what you want, rather than focusing. If I focus on you, Tharindu, creating relationship, building a rapport, and try to understand what are the interests that you have.
Yes.
Assume that you are negotiating like mad to get half of the cake. I said, Tharindu, why are you fighting like that? You don't deserve. Your part is only 10%. I need 90%. But if I ask, please explain to me
why it's important to
why you are asking for half. You know that you are not entitled for half. Why you asking? Then you say, Tissa, I have a habit of every weekend when I go, I pass orphanage, little kids are there. Sometimes I take toffees, biscuits, and I give them that, and it's rewarding. It's amazing, man. When I see this cake, I felt I remember them, if I have the half of it, there are about 40, I can cut it and give it because I am trying to go this evening.
Interesting.
Then suddenly
you learn my story.
You learn my story. This is what you call searching for common interest. I said, Tharindu, I also would like to help those kids like that. Yeah. So we have shared interest.
The rapport.
The rapport and the shared interest. It goes more than rapport. Then I understand your.
Correct.
Correct.
That's why sometimes they say, you don't tackle the case, you tackle the lawyer, you tackle the person who is coming.
Then what happens? I say, why did you tell me this?
True.
Take full.
Tissa, we are going to continue this very interesting discussion. Stay tuned. We will be back after this short break. This is Bisnomics. Welcome back to Bisnomics, your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. Our focus today is on improving the negotiation skills, a skill which is quite underrated and underestimated, but essential for any manager, team leader, or business entrepreneur. And joining me for this discussion is an expert in the field of negotiations, Mr. Tissa Dissanayaka. Tissa, now let's talk about a different type of negotiations, trade unions. To a certain extent, ends up being a nightmare for some of the business leaders. They like to avoid it as much as possible, but sometimes there is no choice. For a business leader who is actually getting ready for a trade union negotiation, what is your advice?
Tharindu, this is a very emotional and power-packed negotiation area.
No easy way out.
No easy way out, but I have one advice. It's a simple thing that could change the perspectives of the negotiation with the unions. Try to write the victory speech of your negotiating counterpart. Let me repeat. Try to write the victory speech of your negotiating counterpart.
What that person will say at the end of the negotiation.
Now assume if you are representing employee federation and you are negotiating with the union,
yes,
very powerful union. As an employer, can you write the victory speech of the union leader? You know what it takes? It takes you to dive deep into their pain, their issues, problems, what their interest, their demand, and their mindset. This, you need a lot of empathy to do that. If an employer wants to write the victory speech of a union leader, he has to view it from their point of view. This is where the skill, remember that lean skill, listening and empathy. Empathy of this speech, empathy of the negotiation. If you have the empathy, you are able to view it from their angle, their perspective. It's not that easy, Tharindu. You have to go deeper into their problems, what they are looking for, why they are demanding, is they have a genuine case. Often, why this trade union negotiation fail is the stereotyping. Before the union people come to the negotiation table, employee already know what to say and what they are demanding. What is important is this prototyping. Decide the merit of each case. Forget about history of the union, whether they have supportive or destructive.
That's one thing I want to ask you there. Most of the time when it comes to negotiations, we tend to associate, because both parties coming to the table, Tissa, they are coming with certain baggage, right? If you are the union and if I am the employer, when I am come to the table, you are thinking of the last 10 years of whatever unfair things I may have done. And I am thinking about the last 10 years of instances where the employees have not supported something of the company, isn't it? But that baggage we bring about with us sometimes tend to be so heavy that it breaks down the purpose of this exact negotiation. Am I right?
Tharindu, negotiation fails even before reaching meeting person to person.
In the mind.
In the minds, and they are playing it prelude to the negotiations. If this not happen, we will close the factory. That was the message that they sent, which is prejudice. Both parties need to be mindful and be open-minded. This is where the empathy plays. If you want a great negotiator, get into the other man's shoes and see it from their angle. You know, the famous emotional intelligence guru, Daniel Goleman, said, empathy is your ability to understand the emotional makeup of the other. It doesn't mean that you have to be nice every time.
Correct. But you understand.
You have to understand what's going on in their mind, and it's a advantage as a negotiator if you can understand the mind of the other person.
Understood.
You don't have to take the responsibility for their emotions.
Yes.
But just
understand.
It's called the perspective taking.
Understanding them is one aspect. And then when you come to the table and when, let's say, they are throwing their demand, let's say they are throwing very unfair demands, maybe asking for very high salary increases at a time that the whole economy and the company is really struggling. I'm sure this is nothing new. You face these very regularly.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you keep your face calm and straight in such circumstances?
Tharindu, very simple. Smile. When you smile, 40 odd muscles are activated and it releases dopamine, and that gives you a positive outlook and confident look, and that also create the mirror neuron of the negotiating counterparts also activated with that, and they also feel the positive feelings.
Interesting.
Often, the moment we enter to the negotiation room, we call it a battleground. They call it a battleground. That room, the smile disappears.
Yes. The tension, the pressure.
The tension, pressure, smile disappears. The other one is making the proper eye contact. And they don't make the proper eye contact. When you don't make a proper eye contact, the trust factor diminished. One of the key elements of creating a trust is, in negotiation, is the making proper eye contact. Smile, making a proper eye contact. And be a good listener.
Listen well.
Listen well. Start with these low-hanging fruits. Before you even think about demands, 21 demands we are very famous with, Viseka, Illim Viseka. Before that, just smile, make proper eye contact, listen, greet well, treat them well, build a rapport.
And they say every time something is agreed upon, appreciate it and recognize, isn't it? I mean, you show that it was a valuable discussion.
That's an incremental positiveness. Another reason why they failed is, Tharindu, if you look at the most of the negotiations that happen in the industry, whatever the industry they are, there are 90% of the demands, or they call it points, that everyone can achieve, or they can agree. We call it a common and joint interest, shared interest. But there are only 10% or 5% that both parties cannot agree.
Correct.
We throw everything out based on that 5%. My suggestion is, agree where you can agreeable. Start with that, because that creates the positive environment.
Excellent thoughts.
And then build upon step by step. And once we reach that difficult 10% or 5%, most of the other areas are, your perspectives has been changed, how you receive and view each other has been improved. Even if there are genuine difficulties on agreeing certain things I cannot agree.
Yes.
And you can still conclude the negotiation without, with the future date to continue, or without having any difficult feelings.
Tissa, tell me a little bit about sales negotiations. Now, let's say if I'm going for a sales pitch, though we say it's a sales pitch, it's a sales negotiation. Now, it's a negotiation.
Yeah.
What is your advice? I know you have the framework, but anything specific for salespeople? There's this famous talk where they give the pen. I'm sure you have experienced it, where they give the pen and say, "Sell this to me." Yeah. So, what is your, actually, this is something I want to ask as well. How do you tackle those sales negotiations?
Tharindu, what happens in sales? I have been a salesperson. I have worked for number one in that industry. I was from shipping and logistics. I worked 15 years for world number one. I know how.
It's
B2B. And there, the most of the salespeople fail. They are trying to sell more than what they could, what the value. Never promise much more than, if the product is not up to that standard, don't try to oversell it. If you have an issue with the product, fix it. If you have issue with the service, fix it. You cannot sell the product that doesn't work. You cannot sell a service that doesn't perform or deliver. Understood. First thing that we need to do is, remember, you are not here to sell everything. Understand weaknesses and the strength of your product or the service. and find out what positions you are in, and then take your approach. In my good old days, when I did my CIM marketing, they said negotiation is a part of sales process. But when I went out to real life situations, international negotiation, I thought, wow, negotiation is life.
Correct.
Negotiation is life. The sales is a part of that. Let me quote a very famous and very valid quote from Dr. Chester Karas, one of the negotiation guru. He said, in business as in life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate for. Have you got what you deserve in your life? Your salary, your bonus, your perks, your increment, your recognition, love, care, security, respect. I didn't. I had to negotiate the way. That's why in our not in our language, but in this part of the illuwe nattang hambu wenne,
Correct.
ahuwe nattang denne.
We hear that all the time, even in the corporate world.
In the corporate world, illuwe nattang denne, ahuwe nattang hambu wenne. It doesn't mean that if you don't negotiate, you don't get it, although you deserve it. It's true to my life. I believe it's true to your life.
Absolutely.
And the others' life as well.
Absolutely. This on a final note, we mentioned about building rapport in doing negotiation, because as you said, before you get into the table or rather get going with the discussion, it's about how you build that connection.
Right.
Now, when you come to a table to negotiate, what are your advice to anybody who wants to build a psychological rapport with that person? Is there anything that you can do, a few psychological tricks, a few mind tricks that might actually work?
Yes. Very good question, and it's a very important aspect of negotiation. People like to negotiate with people whom they could trust. Let me substitute another word. People like to do business with people whom they could trust. Trust is a factor that you need to build across the table. Whether you are meeting a familiar, regular client, key customer, or whether you are facing a first time. Now, how do you build the trust? Jeff Bloomfield, who did a lot of research about this aspect, he says personal trust, professional trust is a big subject that I can conduct one day workshop on that trust aspect as well. It's a huge subject.
Correct.
But now
trust takes time to build up.
Trust takes time. Now let us give the viewers some nuggets, some quick sub gem or diamonds that they could immediately apply. Let me term it as the term that I want to do is the work in trust. How to build the work in trust. First point that I suggest is, when you meet across the table first time to negotiate, smile. I don't want to do business with
grumpy people.
Grumpy people, like
Yes.
square faces, grumpy people. Probably you don't want to, and we don't trust that. And that's a human instinct. Something hiding, something not right.
Still waters run deep.
Still water runs deep. We don't feel that chemistry right. That's number one, smile. Again, make the proper eye contact. Tharindu, imagine if I keep on talking to you without looking at your eyes, for the next 30 minutes you will go crazy. And the audience will not trust whatever the words that I say utter.
True.
If I don't make the proper eye contact with you or with the camera. That's the number one. Smile, make the proper eye contact, and then you need to use the friendly body language.
Correct.
Friendly body language means, as we know, this when you are in a discussion, you don't. This is threatening.
Go with the open palm.
This is go with the open palm and shake the hand.
Not to cross the arms.
Not the cross the arms. This is you are hiding something. You are blocking. You are not trusting. Now, for instance, when I go to sales pitch, I even don't sit like this where possible.
Yes.
Because when I sit like you, Tharindu, what it says is there's a barrier. You are on that side. I am on this side, and there's a gap between us. Imagine if I move this chair to this side and I show my brochures and I pitch you where possible. No, it's not always possible. The moment I get closer to you and show my brochures, my sales pitch, you feel I'm on your side. We are partners, and
close
we are
proximity.
close upon.
Correct.
You know, that is one. So eye contacts.
And even some of the words we use.
Words we use, positive words. Eye contacts, then smile, friendly body language, like open palm gestures, positive words. And then the other one is deep listening. Very important. Professor William Morey, who was the co-founder of Harvard Negotiation and Leadership Program, says, cheapest concession that you can give to your negotiation counterpart is the deep listening.
Okay.
Cheapest concession. So I answered your question with 5 tips.
Absolutely, Tissa. I think we had a wonderful discussion, especially focused on negotiations, how to do it, some tips and tricks, trade union negotiations, sales negotiations, and why negotiations matter to our professional lives and also to our personal lives. I think that was very insightful. Thank you very much once again for having joined us and sharing your thoughts. Wish you good luck with all the future endeavors.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me once again for this program.
With that, we wrap up today's episode of Bisnomics. No matter what business you may be in, make sure it's a profitable week ahead and negotiate your way through. Because in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate for. I'll see you with the next episode.